On Friday, March 27th, we had a very special event for the American Advertising Federation in the Advertising Education Foundation of Houston. This is an annual event where we present scholarships to college students engaged in advertising and marketing to inspire and better equip them to launch into the field of advertising and marketing. It's the AEFH annual luncheon, and this year, no surprise, was bigger and better because that just keeps on happening. We had Mia Gladney as our presenter and host. Mia, a native Houstonian, an evening anchor with KHOU Television. She's won a few awards too. We have Larry Kelly, chairman and president of the AEFH, Steve Spear, vice chairman. The executive committee members include Brenda Love, Kay Simeon, and a bunch of great people who put this event together and work very hard all year long to make sure that what happens on that very special day is big, impactful, and meaningful. And once again, it happened. We also had a very special speaker this year. His name is Chris Canetti, who is president of the FIFA World Cup 26 Houston Host Committee. Chris is going to talk a little bit about what's going on with FIFA, and you're also going to hear from Larry and from Steve about AEFH. You ready? Here we go. And this is where we say Ad Speaks Houston is the multiple Addy Award-winning podcast giving you the inside scoop on Houston advertising and marketing, ranked in the top 20 advertising podcasts and available on your favorite podcast platform. Created and produced by Radio Lounge, the American Advertising Federation Houston chapter at aaf-houston.net. Let the program begin.
I am super pumped, and I'll tell you why. The students, they were awesome. I just could not believe the passion that they had. And frankly, the parents are the ones that you just look in their faces and it just melts your heart.
I think the amount of passion in the students is every year has been a delight because, first of all, what happens is it's not just the money. In fact, what hits them is it's all these people, all these connections, and all the things I can do by just listening to all the folks who are already in the business and other students who are on their way and maybe well ahead of me. And it really makes a difference in terms of how I react to it because I see the light come on and I see these kids see their future.
Well, having students myself as a past professor that have gotten these scholarships, I've seen the impact that this organization makes on students' lives. And I just need, from a personal standpoint, to ensure that it just keeps going and going forever.
You can go to college, you can get a scholarship, you can do any number of things, work hard, get good grades. But the fact is that if you are not in any way connected to the industry, where you get a real sense of what really goes on in this business and meet the people that are actually in the business and functioning, you don't have the sense of reality that you need to have in order to understand what you're going to be doing, and at the same time have a feeling of how much fun it can be and how much enjoyment you get out of working in the advertising business.
Today, what I was really proud of, again, is the passion that the students had, the pride that their parents had, and I think the heartfelt thanks that the community has for AEFH and the role we play in bringing talent and extremely great talent to this marketplace.
At this point in our program, I am thrilled to introduce our keynote speaker for you this afternoon, Chris Canetti, the man who led the charge for Houston to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup games at NRG Stadium this summer. It is coming. It's almost about that time. You can already feel the excitement and the energy from it all. Chris serves as president of the FIFA World Cup Houston Host Committee and oversees Houston's plans to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup games. Prior to his current role, Chris was the former interim CEO of the Harris County Houston Sports Authority and former president of the Houston Dynamo and Houston Dash. He knows a little something about soccer, ladies and gentlemen. He has over 30 years of sports marketing experience, largely in Houston, but also with the New York Red Bulls MLS franchise and the former AA baseball team for the Colorado Rockies and the New Haven, Connecticut baseball team. Chris is a graduate of Quinnipiac University in Connecticut and teaches sports marketing at Rice University. It is my pleasure to introduce to you, everyone, Chris Canetti.
First and foremost, congratulations to all the scholarship recipients today and to the foundation for all the tremendous work and for the $1 million milestone. And it's great to be here today. And while I will talk in a little bit about the World Cup and what it means to Houston, Larry asked me to talk a little bit about my career journey and perhaps impart some valuable lessons to the young folks here today who are about to get out into the world and start their careers. So first and foremost, what I want to say to the young folks who are getting ready to get out there, love what you do. I've worked in sports for 32 years now, and it's never, ever once for a day felt like a job to me. Every day I go to work with a passion and a joy, and I feel very, very lucky and fortunate to be able to do that. And I feel like if you can accomplish that, it certainly makes life a lot more pleasurable and enjoyable. So pursue your passion, live your passion, and make your career something that you actually love on a day in and day out. But so Mia said this, I went to a small school in Connecticut called Quinnipiac University. I was a baseball player there. I was like a lot of American kids who grew up loving sports, baseball, basketball, football, even ice hockey up there in Connecticut. And I wanted to have a career in sports. It was very important for me to figure out how I can take my love for sports in general and apply it to a career. But back in the late 80s and the early 90s, that wasn't so much a thing as it is today. And then I got very fortunate about a year after I graduated college where it was announced that a minor league AA baseball team was moving to my hometown of New Haven, Connecticut to play at Yale University. And I thought, I must work for this team. This is perfect. I was a baseball player. I love sports. I want a career in sports. I need to go work for these guys. So I, of course, did what everybody does. I sent in the resume, no response. I made phone calls, didn't go very far. I even went as far as to drive from New Haven, Connecticut to Louisville, Kentucky in 1993 to attend the baseball winter meetings to find the owner and meet him and let him know that I wanted to work for the team. I was successful. I found a gentleman by the name of W. Edward Massey on the trade show floor, handed him my resume and said, I love baseball. I want to come work for your team. I'm fairly confident that resume ended up in the trash at his hotel room soon, a few hours later. I was working at a hospital in the admitting department, just paying the bills, trying to get by. And then one day, there was a press release and an announcement that the general manager of this baseball team was going to be announced. So I called in sick that day, of course, at the hospital, and I showed up at the press conference. I said, I need to meet the new general manager. So after the press conference, I approached this gentleman named Charlie Dowd, handed him my resume. I love baseball. I need to work for you. And again, I'm pretty confident that resume ended up in a trash can somewhere in his office later that day. But I wasn't ready to give up. My persistence remained there. And remember, back in the day, I'm going back 30 plus years, there was no email, there was no social media. You either had to call somebody on a regular old telephone, or you had to show up in their office, or you had to write an old-fashioned letter, right? So I was trying all of those things. I kept showing up in the office. And one day, the general manager, Charlie, said, okay, Chris, I will give you a job, right? Just leave me alone. So he said, call me in 2 weeks, and we'll talk about it. So 2 weeks to the day, I called Charlie, and he said, Chris, we're gonna name you the clubhouse manager. Does anybody know what that even might be? The clubhouse manager is the guy that takes care of the locker room. It washes the uniforms, it shines the shoes, it cleans the bathrooms and the showers, takes care of the equipment, it feeds the players. Oh, okay, that wasn't really exactly what I expected, if I'm being honest. And it paid a grand total of $450 a month, plus $2.50 per player per day in clubhouse dues, okay? And by the way, all the food and everything I had to buy myself. Okay, so that was the job that was presented to me. It was a little bit of a kick, and I had to make a decision. Do I take this opportunity that's being presented to me, or do I walk away and move on to something else? I thought, geez, I've got a degree, and by the way, I have a mass communications degree, very applicable to everything that you guys are doing. And I made the decision, probably the best decision I've ever made in my career, to take that job back in the day. I was 23 years old. I lived at home with my mom and dad. I didn't have a significant other. So what did I have to lose? I was going to take this job and get started in the industry. And the worst thing that was going to happen was I was going to have an awesome summer working in baseball at the age of 23. So I did the job of clubhouse manager. In baseball, of course, you have games every single day. There's 81 home games. We worked, 18, 20-hour days because that's what you do in baseball. But I wasn't satisfied being the clubhouse manager. I never intended for that to be my final stop. Again, I looked at this as a foot in the door, a way to get in, to prove who I am, to build my network, and to be promoted. And again, very luckily that happened for me. But the message I want to send is really there's 3 or 4 things to it. Again, when you go out into the real world and you look for that first job, it's probably never going to be perfect. Again, clubhouse manager, $450 a month, $2.50 in clubhouse dues, 18-hour days, not great, right? But those are the choices you have to make. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not going to be the salary you want, the office you want, the hours you want, the things that you want, but you have to start somewhere. And in the business that you are all pursuing and the business that I ended up in, it is a high-demand business. So the most important thing is getting that foot in the door, right? That is number one. If you don't get your foot in the door, you're not going anywhere. So you're going to probably have to take, like I said, an opportunity that's not perfect to get in. Once you get in, you need to not only believe in yourself and know that you're probably better than the job they've offered you, you have to have a plan on how you're going to get promoted internally. And what I like to tell young people, as Mia said, I'm an adjunct professor at Rice University, is you really have to do 2 things to move on and move up. One is you have to do the job they give you perfectly. You have to get an A+ at that job, right? So when I was the clubhouse manager, if I got a B-, they would have never thought of me for anything else, right? You have to do the job at the highest level to even be thought of for anything else. But even doing the job perfectly doesn't mean that they're going to think of you for anything else. Just because I'm good at getting grass stains out of pinstriped baseball pants or do a good job scrubbing the urinals, that doesn't mean that I should be hired for another position, okay? So what that means, what you have to do is you have to demonstrate an ability and a capacity to show that you have other talents besides the talents that you had. So again, I was 23 years old, really great time in life to have a lot of fun. When the team went on the road, I had no responsibilities. I could have gone to the beach. There was a million things I could have done. I went into the front office. I sold tickets. I wrote for the program. I answered phones. I painted dugouts. I did a million other things, all without getting paid, to show that I have capabilities to do other things here. And again, all of that paid off for me. By the end of that season, Charlie called me back into his office, and he said, "Congratulations, we're promoting you to Director of Operations, a real full-time job in the front office." So amazing. That was fantastic. I now kind of sort of accomplished what I had wanted, a real job in sports. Not that the clubhouse manager job was a lot of fun, but this was a real job. And I went on to just 3 years later, at the age of 26, to become the general manager of that baseball team. I was the youngest general manager in baseball. Thank you. So I don't say that to brag or to get an applause even. I say that to show you what a foot in the door can do and what doing the right things can do, right? Even when I became Director of Operations, which was very operational, exactly what it sounds like, I got involved in marketing. I got involved in PR. I got involved in sales. We had to sell tickets. We had to sell sponsorships. We had to do all these things. And so when Charlie actually left to another job, the owner was even willing to consider me at the age of 26 for that job, was because of all of those things I did. So I went on and did that for a couple of years, and it was awesome being this young general manager in my hometown, again, affiliated with the Colorado Rockies. It was awesome. And then Major League Soccer came calling a couple of years later in New York. And while I was pursuing a career in baseball, I thought it would be awesome to get into the New York market. So I left New Haven. I went to New York. We played at a big stadium, Giant Stadium, where the NFL plays. We were on the big network, Madison Square Garden Network. You could see our scores at on the bottom line at ESPN. So I thought, this is my chance to get into the big market, the big city, and I'm going to go work for the Yankees or the Mets or one of these teams, Jets, Giants, you name it. But I fell in love with soccer, and I saw a path to the top of soccer very quickly. And I eventually, over the course of years, became the number 2 guy in charge of this soccer team. For those of you who love soccer and watch soccer, the boss was a guy by the name of Alexi Lawless, who's the lead host on Fox. So he was the president, I was the vice president. We had a lot of great times together. And we were heading in the right direction. It was awesome. And then one day we got a phone call from the owner, and he said, "You guys sitting down?" Well, yeah, what's going on? He said, "We've sold the team. We sold the team to Red Bull, the energy drink out of Austria. And they'll be in there tomorrow, and they'll start running the franchise." Okay. So Red Bull came in. They actually rebranded the team overnight. We were originally called the New York Metro Stars. And you know what happens when new owners come in. They fire everybody, okay? So especially the people at the top. So Alexi and myself and many others found ourselves in 2006, out of that franchise. Anybody know what launched here in Houston in 2006? Houston Dynamo, yes. So the Houston Dynamo called me up, said, "We need you down here in Houston. We need to help you launch this team." I didn't really want to come to Houston, if I'm being honest. I was loving my life in New York. We had a 2-year-old daughter who's now a college soccer player. Daughter's in college. My other daughter's at Arkansas studying PR and advertising. So anyway, so that's what brought me to Houston, right? So it wasn't so much about what brought me to Houston. It was about, again, I'm telling a story here. There's no straight upward path trajectory to success. You're going to go through ups, you're going to go through downs, you're going to hit challenges along the way, and it's never going to go exactly how you plan it. So I came to Houston as the chief operating officer. We launched the Dynamo. We won championships. The president left. He went to become the athletics director at University of West Virginia, and then I became the president of the Houston Dynamo. We built Shell Energy Stadium. We launched the Houston Dash. We had a lot of success along the way. And after 13 years with the Dynamo, it was time to try something different. The city and the county called me and asked me to come over in late 2018 to lead Houston's World Cup efforts, to try to bring the World Cup to Houston. So I made that move, made that change, and back in 2019, we started the process of trying to become a host city for the World Cup. 2020 came, COVID really shut that process down a little bit. And then eventually in June of 2022, Houston was awarded host city status to host the World Cup. So since mid-2022, we've been organizing this event, and now we sit, I think, 75 days away from the first game in Mexico City. And then Houston's first game is June 14th here at NRG Stadium. We'll host 7 matches in Houston. That's the third most number of matches across all the host cities in North America. There's 3 cities in Mexico, 2 in Canada, and 11 in the U.S., and this makes this the largest sporting event in the history of the world. There will be a $1.5 billion economic impact to the city of Houston. We're expecting over 500,000 visitors to come in from across the planet, and it's just going to be an epic thing. So, again, I've served this job now for almost 8 years. It's been a passion of mine. It's been joy. Everything with the Dynamo was a passion of joy. Everything with the Metro Stars / Red Bull for a couple days was fantastic. I've lived out a dream as just a small town kid from Connecticut who loves sports and has been able to pursue a career in sports and live out this thing. And I don't take that for granted any day. So again, start at the bottom. Not going to be perfect. Take your chances. Believe in yourself. Perform your function, your job responsibility perfectly, find unique, creative ways to work hard and demonstrate that you have more talents beyond just the role that you've been handed in that job, and also be really, really persistent when pursuing those jobs. That stands out. I I got that resume thrown in the trash a couple times. It all helped out along the way. The last thing I would say too, and then again I'll touch a little bit more on the World Cup, is your network is everything, absolutely everything. And this is what I teach my daughters. Who you know and how you know them is what's going to help make you successful. It's so much easier to call or email or text someone that you know and ask them for help than someone you don't know. While you take these internships, I saw all the videos, everyone's looking to do an internship somewhere along the way this summer. Make sure that you build as many relationships as you can during those internships, and then don't let those relationships die. Right? It doesn't mean you have to talk to someone every day, but talk to them, text them once, 2, 3, 4 times a year. Happy birthday. How's your family doing? Whatever. Because eventually you will need something from that person. And you don't want to be reaching out to them after 5 years of silence, right? So stay in touch. My nephew had an internship, and he's a sports guy like me. And I was mentoring him, and I gave him the same advice, and he made 5 or 6 very close relationships. None of them are with the organization that he interned with anymore. Now one is in the NFL. The other one is in the Major League Baseball Players Association. Another one is working for a women's soccer team. So now his network has spread throughout sports, and it just is such an advantage for him now when he's needing help in his career. So cherish that network and build it. So a few more comments on the World Cup, and then Larry wanted to open this up for questions. Again, largest sporting event in the history of the world. What makes this the largest sporting event in the history of the world? I think everybody in here, whether you're a soccer fan or not, can appreciate that soccer is the world's sport. It's the most popular game on the planet. The World Cup is expanding to the largest format it's ever been. So I mentioned 3 countries, Mexico, U.S., and Canada, 16 cities. Monterrey, Mexico City, Guadalajara, Toronto, Vancouver, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Miami, Houston, Dallas, Kansas City, LA, San Francisco, Seattle. The field is expanding from 32 teams to 48 teams, and when you grow the field, you have to play more matches, and the tournament is expanding from 64 matches to 104 matches, okay? It's taking place over 39 days from June 11th to July 19th. Where all these 104 matches will be played. And again, we will be fortunate to have 7 of these matches in Houston. We got the 3rd most number of games out of any city in North America. These matches will take place over the course of 21 days from June 14th to July 4th. This is the equivalent of hosting 7 Super Bowls in Houston in 3 weeks. In fact, speaking of the Super Bowl, I'm guessing many of you watched that very boring game a few weeks ago between the Seahawks and the Patriots. The NFL proudly announced 2 days after the Super Bowl that it was the most viewed Super Bowl of all time, about 127 million viewers worldwide. Each match from Houston will be viewed by an audience of 200 million people worldwide. Each match, okay? The last World Cup final from Qatar, which featured Argentina versus France, one of the greatest football matches of all time, had a worldwide audience of 1.5 billion. So it's 10 times the Super Bowl. FIFA has this really difficult lottery system to get tickets. And there's only 5 million tickets available across these 104 matches. But 507 million people worldwide applied to the lottery. 507 million, okay? So this helps explain the scale and the size of this event. We have a volunteer program. We need 5,200 volunteers in Houston. And when we put the volunteer announcement out that we were looking for applications, within a week we got 35,000 applications. Aside from the 7 matches, this is what I want to point out, we will have a 39-day fan festival down in East Downtown Edo by Shell Energy Stadium. We're branding the area Football Fiesta, and it's a free event. This is where we want locals and visitors from Germany or Argentina or anywhere to congregate. It's a massive outdoor party celebrating the World Cup. Soccer fans don't like to sit at home on their couch and watch. They like to get together and view it. This is going to be a very diverse, eclectic, fun celebration of the game and a showcase of Houston's culture. So hopefully, if you can't make it to a game, given this very challenging ticketing situation, we hope that everybody will come out and enjoy a day or 2 at the Fan Festival. I know my 2 college daughters plan to be there many, many days.
Well, obviously, 2026 is going to be an incredible year for FIFA, the FIFA World Cup 26. And we thank Chris Canetti for being a part of the event that we had back on March 27th here in Houston for AEFH, the Advertising Education Foundation of Houston. I hope you learned a couple of things today. I hope you learned more about what AEFH does, how it works, And I hope it inspires you to maybe get engaged and involved with that. We're always looking for great people to become a part of AEFH. Reach out to Larry, reach out to Steve or Brenda or Kay and find out more. Go to the website, AEFH. You'll find a lot more information there. Also, many thanks again to our good friend, a couple of years now, Mia Gladney, with KHOU. She's an evening anchor there, and you know her. Also an award-winning news anchor in our industry. So we thank Mia once again for that. We thank the board that worked so hard on this event to put it together and make it absolutely phenomenal. Want you to also check out the FIFA 2026 World Cup. And thanks again to Chris Canetti for helping us understand a little bit more about what's going on this year for FIFA here in Houston. So that's a wrap. And just so you know, Ad Speaks Houston is the multiple Addy Award-winning podcast created and produced by Radio Lounge, the American Advertising Federation Houston chapter. It is ranked in the top 20 of advertising podcasts. Subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform so you'll never miss a new podcast. We also invite you to meet the people that represent District 10 of the American Advertising Federation. Check out Adtention, the podcast for District 10. Discover more about Ad to Houston with their podcast called Admigos. Until next time, thank you for listening. Ad Speaks Houston is copyright 2026. I'm Ray Schellens.